the atheist who said to God, "We can do anything you can do." And God said, "Can you create a man out of dust?" And they said, "Yes, we have the technology." So God said, "Let me see you do it." So he starts to gather up some dust, and God says, "No, no, 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 not my dust." You may remember the words, the opening words of the Torah. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. You've heard that, right? Pretty famous. So let's find out something we didn't know before. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Okay, that explains it. So if you were wondering where did the earth come from and where did the heaven come from, well, now you know. God created it. But why? So hidden in the words, in the Hebrew words, we have a little bit of a hint as to why God created. Or one of the reasons anyway. Because the word for create in Hebrew also means reveal. So in the beginning, God revealed. Or if you invert the words, because in Hebrew they go the other way, in the beginning, God was revealed. In other words, God created the world to reveal himself. So in the Hebrew, Bereshis, in the beginning, bara Elikim, what was revealed was God. God created the world so that he would be known. That's a lot. That's a lot of information in 3 Hebrew words. It really tells you everything you need to know. We didn't create the world. He did. And he is not mysterious and unavailable. On the contrary, in the beginning, the first thing God wanted was to reveal himself. And where did he want to reveal himself? First in heaven, but then on earth. Well, this takes away another mystery. Everybody asks this question, even children. If God wants us to be in a relationship with him, why is he so mysterious? Why does he hide? And different people come up with different explanations. He's hiding not because he wants to, but because we rejected him. We meaning Adam and Eve. When they sinned by eating from the tree, they drove God away. So God withdrew because this relationship wasn't working. We blew it. Well, that leaves even more mystery. Did God not know that this was going to happen? And then what do we do to fix it? It's been 5,783 years and haven't fixed it yet. So then we got to come up with all sorts of theories about how it gets fixed. Here we see the exact opposite. Who says God is mysterious? Who created that myth? Who created the notion that God is unknowable, unreachable, invulnerable? indifferent. If you read the first words of the Torah, in the beginning, the very first thing God did was reveal himself, not hide himself. Now, the truth is that in order to reveal yourself, you also have to hide yourself. That's how it works. What does it mean to reveal yourself? It means that there is an external, superficial impression that you create, and then there's the real you. To reveal yourself doesn't mean just stand up in a spotlight and let everybody see you. That's not revealing anything. That's just being. But that being is not the real you. So in order to reveal the real you, you have to kind of put the external you aside. It's like, stop staring at me. Let's have a conversation. Right? So I have to hide something about myself in order for the real me to come out. Otherwise, I will not be known. I will just be stereotyped. So if people would say, oh, I know him. Yeah, he's kind of, 160 pounds, and that is not a description of a person. I mean, that's good for the FBI, but if they're trying to find a suspect or something. But Jackie Mason has a whole funny routine. He says he went to the hospital because he was feeling very badly, but he had to fill out forms before they would let him in. They needed to know things about him. But he was very surprised because one of the things they needed to know about him was his height. He said, what has that got to do with my illness, with my pain? Am I suffering because I neglected my height? Ever hear of anybody who died from too much height? So describing your height, giving measurements, that's not saying who you are. On the contrary, that kind of conceals who you are. It's a distraction. So you have to get past that to get to the real you. So yes, in order for God to make himself known, he has to hide some parts of himself that would be a distraction to who he really is. So what don't we see? Well, we don't always see holiness. Right? Is God holy? Yeah, he's holy. In fact, he tells us that we should be holy so that we would be like him, because he is holy. So yeah, he's holy. Do you see holiness? Not really. You got to stop and think about it. You have to develop a sensitivity to it, an insight. But if you look at the world, even if you look at the Bible, you don't see holiness. There are people who complain the Bible is just a book of violence and misfits who can't get anything right. They don't see anything holy. So the holiness is concealed because angels are also holy. So thinking of God as holy is not personal enough. That's just a feature. How about infinity? Has anyone experienced infinity yet? Or beyond? Infinity and beyond? We haven't even gotten to infinity yet. So his infinity is also concealed. Not so much in heaven, but on earth, all infinity is concealed because earth is strictly finite. What else is concealed? The future. What is God's vision of the future? Don't know. Till it happens, we're not going to really know. What else is concealed? God's judgment. We don't understand why good guys suffer and bad guys succeed. That's God's judgment. Don't understand it. It's concealed. Yeah, if you think about it deeply, you might come up with some insight as to what really is success and who is really successful and at what. So, who has a better life, the righteous or the wicked? Of course, the righteous. Who has a better existence? The wicked. But what's more important? Life or existence? Okay, so you have to become a real philosopher to even start to appreciate God's judgment. But for all practical purposes, it's concealed. So, what is not concealed? What did God reveal when he created heaven and earth? When you hear God created heaven and earth, what do you now know? About him. It explains where the world came from, but that's not so important. Very few people urgently need to know how the world came into existence. Who cares? So that's not what was revealed. Not something about the world, something about the Creator. What was revealed about the Creator? That he is not content. That's the first most important thing we know about him. Whatever he is was not enough, and he created the heavens and the earth. And now the question becomes, for what? For what? And that's what we've been searching for all of history, to find out what God wants. And those ideas are right there in the first words of the Torah. In the beginning, God revealed himself. So what does he want? He wants to be known. He does not want to be mysterious. He does not want to be hidden. He does not want to be distant. He wants to be known. We are created in God's image. We also have a desperate need to be known. There was a woman who committed suicide in our community in Minneapolis. She left a note. Brilliant. It was like an essay. It wasn't a note, it was almost a book. But the main point she made was she's going to destroy herself because she can't tolerate the transparency of her existence. People look at her and see nothing. She's transparent. And that drove her to desperation. To not be known is really painful. So, where do we get this need to be known? Because we're created in God's image. And right from the beginning, that's what God wanted. In other words, it's a primordial need. It exists right at the beginning of our existence. The moment we're born, what we need most is to be known. And that's why babies cry. For attention. Don't ignore me. That would be the worst thing. Even physically, that's true. If you ignore a baby, they don't have a good chance of surviving. So babies must attract attention. And they do it in two ways: by crying and being miserable, and by being cute and adorable. Some babies use one method more than the other. Other babies use the other method more than the other. But they're doing the same thing. They're making sure that they're not neglected, that they are known. First, that their existence is known. Second, that their needs are known. Third, that their feelings are known. And eventually, that their ideas are known. That's a human being, basically. Okay, so the first three words of the Torah tell us God wants to be known, and calling him mysterious and hidden and unavailable, unreachable, goes against the plan. And in order to make himself truly knowable, not only did he create heaven and earth, but he also revealed his plan and his purpose and his desires in the Torah. It came 2,000 years after creation. So God gave human beings 2,000 years to kind of adjust to just the facts. The world was created, you exist, you have a life to live, there's a purpose to it. Get comfortable, settle down. Unpack your bags, build yourself a house, and then when you're settled, we'll talk. Where will we talk? At Mount Sinai. I'll arrange it. But we will meet at Mount Sinai and we'll talk. When you've matured to the point where you can understand what I'm saying or writing or telling you. And then after that, for about 3,300 years, we have been trying to master this wisdom, which is getting to know God. Okay, those are the first three words. Let's look at another interesting thing. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Every word in Torah has to have a purpose, a meaning, and it has to be accountable for. Was it really necessary to say the, not only once, but twice? It could have said, in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. Why the heaven and the earth? Or better even, could have said, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Why the heaven and the earth? Had he said, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth, we could imagine that heaven and earth are concepts, some heavenly things, some mystical things. So God says, No, no, no. The heaven that you see, look up, look up. It's right there. That heaven, that's the one I created, and the earth. Not some earth, the earth, the one you're standing on. Look around, you'll see. It's, it's highly identifiable. In other words, by adding the, God is saying, I created the heavens as they are, with the galaxies, with the planets, with the stars, the heaven, not some heaven. So it means heaven and all that is in the heavens that make up the heavens, and I created the earth, with everything in it. Tells us two things. The earth was not created empty and had to develop over billions of years. It was created the way you see it. It's almost like God would say, I created this heaven and this earth. So we know that the earth did not evolve from some primordial, indescribable stuff to become the earth it is now. God created the earth as it is now, with everything already in it. The other interesting observation that brings is that on that first day when God created the earth, he created everything there's ever going to be. Nothing new was created after that. Which is what King Solomon says, there is nothing new under the sun. Everything that was going to be created was created on the first day, and since then, nothing more, nothing new was created. That which already existed developed, got more sophisticated. Like that joke I keep repeating. I'm sure you've heard it from me at least 3-4 times. The atheist who said to God, we can do anything you can do. And God said, can you create a man out of dust? And they said, yes, we have the technology. So God said, let me see you do it. So he starts to gather up some dust, and God says, no, 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 not my dust. In other words, you can't create anything new. You have to start with something already existing if you want to improve on it or develop it or bring out its potential. But you can't begin to create anything new. You can't even make dust. And not only we can't, God doesn't. God has not created anything in 5,783 years. So what's he been busy with? Recreating the same things that he created on the first day. So there really is nothing new under the sun. One fantastic example is life support machines. Surely God didn't create life support machines, did he? The ancient people who wrote the Torah, who wrote the Gemara, the Mishnah, did they know anything about life support? So when a question comes up about whether you're allowed to pull the plug, does God allow us to pull the plug on a person who's on a life support machine, how are we supposed to know? God never said anything about a life support machine. And yet we are not allowed to pull a plug unless we find out if God permits it. So how does that work? All right, so you open up the Talmud, 2,000-year-old tradition, and it says the following. The sages were asked, if a man is in the throes of death, he's literally passing away, but the blacksmith who works next door is pounding on his anvil with his hammer, and every time he pounds, the sound, the noise, stuns the patient back to life. So he's about to pass away. The sound of the anvil shocks him back to consciousness, and the whole family is suffering because it's prolonging the death. And so they came to the sages and they asked, are we permitted to pay the blacksmith to stop working? Which would allow the patient to pass away. And the sages said, yes, it is permitted in God's law. So there really is nothing new under the sun, is there? Of course, the life support machine is a little more sophisticated than a blacksmith with his anvil. But it's the same principle, the same idea. Nothing new under the sun. And how do we know that? Because it says the heavens and the earth. Everything that earth was meant to contain was created at the first day. So then what happened in the other 5 days? Didn't God create a heaven? Didn't God create plants? Didn't God create animals? So we see on the 4th day, God said, let the sun shine during the day and the moon shine during the night. He didn't say, let there be a sun and let there be a moon. On the 4th day, God put the sun and the moon into their orbit, into their cycle. But the sun and the moon already existed because they were created on the 1st day. The heavens and the earth. So what happened in the 6 days was all the things created at the first moment were organized. It's like you're moving into a home and you buy all the furniture and all the fixtures the home is going to need right on the 1st day. Then you spend the rest of the week putting each piece of furniture and each appliance in the right place in the home. So on the 1st day, God created everything. And for a week, he gave everything its place. He organized it. That's a lot of information from just that one sentence. Because then the very next sentence says, and the earth was dark and void and chaotic. Everything existed, but nothing was in its right place. So God started to organize. The first thing he said was, let there be light. So that we can see where things belong. Then he said, let the waters separate. When did he create water? Doesn't say anywhere, let there be water. So you see that the rest of creation was an organizing, setting a hierarchy. What comes first, what comes second, what comes third. Not all things are equal. That's called the organization of creation. If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there is a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it.